Guess who's back? Back again. It's yourself. Right. Chapter 4. Yeah, that'll do for our thumbnail, I think. We'll see. Chapter 4, Law of Attraction. I think this is one that a lot of people tend to know about, maybe, or have heard about before, have maybe read up about themselves. I'm sure there's like numerous books just about it. This is just a chapter within the book about it. Right. Chapter 4, Law of Attraction. To desire is to expect. To expect is to achieve. So that's the notion of this chapter. I'm actually going to go back to the end. All right. To desire is to expect. To expect is to achieve. And basically what it's saying here is, in terms of the law of attraction, you should remain constant in your desire, and you will either partly or entirely realize or create that desire. Now it talks about the principle as well. You cannot long for anything unless it already exists. Which I'm guessing means like you can't essentially want and need something that, you can't want or need something that doesn't already exist as something that you can have. Or you can't have an idea in your head that you want it, but also have an idea in your head that you can't have it. That's at least what I would take from it. So it already has to exist as something that you can have for you to have it, which would essentially be everything. So then it goes on to say, why desire something if you do not get? So why desire something you do not expect to get, if in part or at all? Like, if you don't get it in part or you don't get it in full, and you desire that, and you don't expect to get it in part or in full, why would you desire it? So desire without expectation is idle, wishful thinking and a waste of mental energy. So that's essentially what it's saying is, if you desire something, then you should ensure that you actually expect that something. Like you can, well, I guess you can, but it's not really going to benefit you. Trying to desire something while expecting it not to happen is, you may as well not desire it. It's just a waste of time. Exactly what it said. Continuous expectation is necessary to bring it to reality. Lots of people desire without any expectation of it to actually happen. People expect things and just get them a lot of the time. And this is a lot of the time bad things. So it shows the expectation is very powerful. And an example of this is, I'm sure you've had examples or had moments in your life where you've expected something bad to happen. And although you haven't desired it or wanted it to happen, it's happened. And there's been times where you've desired something and wanted it to happen, where you've not expected it to happen and it's not happened. And what you do in those situations, actually in both situations, is when you desire something and you don't expect it to happen and it doesn't happen, then you say, yep, I knew it. It was never going to happen. And then when you're in a situation where you expect something, and although you don't desire it to happen, but you expect it to happen, and then it happens, then you're, yep, that's it, I knew it, I am right. And it's just, I guess you were right, however you're only right because you're expecting to be right in that. And I guess you can take that as you wish, to be honest. People expect things and just get them a lot of the time, bad things. So it shows that expectation is very powerful. Expecting what you don't want to attract, which is obviously the undesirable, which is something you obviously don't want to do. Yep, so if you're desiring something that you don't expect to happen, again, you're just wasting mental energy. There's no point in doing that, wasting your time even thinking about it at all. So desire plus expectation, according to this, is law. It's your right to be happy and free. If that is what you desire, that's also what you should expect. Damn it, I took quite a few notes here. Maybe not that many. Okay. Nature doesn't deprive you of anything good or desirable. Because, yeah, so that was a statement in there. Nature doesn't deprive you of anything good or desirable. Unseen law of mental creation. Application is the test of adequacy. Knowledge is little of no value unless applied. Pressure causes congestion and confusion. Be reasonable and practical. And then there was a quote in here that says, the Lord helps them who helps themselves. Do your part, the law will do the rest. And just, yeah, that was a lot to probably take in at once, so I'm going to just go over it again. Application is the test of adequacy, so actually applying applying, because obviously it goes on to then say knowledge is of little or no value unless applied. So application of the knowledge that you have is what's, like, there's no point in having knowledge of something if you're not going to apply it. There's no point in you knowing that you can make $1 million, or you can get a six-pack, or you can, like having the knowledge of how to make $1 million, or how to get a six-pack, or how to make $1 trillion, or how to have an 8-pack, or like how to be happy every day, how to travel. If you know how to travel, you know how to book a flight, and you don't book a flight, then what's the point? Like, having the knowledge of doing these things without doing them, there's really no essence in that. I mean, that's essentially what it's saying here, and showing the importance of the application, meaning that yes, you can desire, yes, you can expect, however, you also still do need to act on your desires and expectations with the knowledge that you have of them. That's what I've taken from that. The Lord helps them who helps themselves. Do your part, the Lord will do the rest. This is a construct. Time is a construct of man. The universe / nature operates in the now. Desire and expectation. Employ this intentionally. So have the desire, have the expectation, and make sure that you apply practical things to get you closer to that, knowing that there's not a fixed time that you put on these things, and just know to yourself that, yep, this will happen, it doesn't really matter when, but it will happen. And whether it happens now or in 10 years, and I think the easiest example is money, whether you hit $1 million in your bank account now, and I'm just going to say $1 million because it's like, yeah, I think everybody sort of understands why. Anyway, you hit $1 million now, tomorrow, you hit $1 million tomorrow, or you hit $1 million in 1 year from now, doesn't really change anything, because you still hit that million, and all those things that would maybe be solved and all that would still be solved even though you hit it a year later. So just sit and know that whatever you've desired and expected, if you're applying the correct things, it's going to happen, and that's sort of it. Yeah, and then it goes on to also speak about desiring what will make you fuller, and not trying to get something that belongs to someone else, or that is someone else's, and that would deprive them of whatever good they have. Like, if you want something that's someone else's, like, there's no need, because there's an abundance out there of everything. There's plenty, there's loads. You don't need to have what they have. You can have more than what they have, or less than what they have, and still have enough, more than enough even. So yeah, that's one of the points that said in the book. Don't desire or go after something that someone else has. Go after what it is that you want, and you realize that there's an abundance of that in the universe and the world, and God isn't limited to only being able to give one person one thing. Like, there's not just $1 million, there's plenty of them, so you can go ahead and get them in multiple ways. Whatever we think about comes into our lives, good or bad. So yeah, whatever we think about comes into our lives, good or bad, which is actually interesting, because I was having this conversation with someone, and I'm sure it might be on the chat, I don't know, can't remember exactly yeah, I was about to can't remember exactly when, but I'm in the middle of uploading this, and this isn't up yet. Neither is number 2, so this is number 4, and I've not even put up number 2 yet. So it might be up, it might not be. Either way, you'll probably see it eventually. And yeah, well, yeah, you definitely see this before this. So yeah, in the conversation we were having, it was talking about how the same way that your IG algorithm is just based off of what you think about, what you want, like that, all your IG algorithm and TikTok algorithm and all that, all your feed is just actually you. In the same way that we then extrapolated that and talked about how is reality also just a reflection of you and an algorithm of you, of what you want, of what you put your focus into, and came to the conclusion that yeah, actually it is, even whether it's good or bad, whether someone is horrible to you, it's probably because you're a horrible person. Do you know what I mean? Like in that sort of sense, like there's yeah, you're just sort of getting in a feedback of what you put out there, and it's maybe something that's hard to grasp or even want to understand, because then it forces you to identify parts of you which aren't so good and changing those. And I think change is a big thing a lot of people struggle with, to be honest. And change isn't the easiest thing on the planet. However, it's something that can be very good, to be honest, just to say the least. Yeah, so yeah, difficulty is an opportunity to advance. Every stumbling block is actually a stepping stone. So here's an example that they gave in the book of, yeah, every difficulty is an opportunity to advance and become better. And then every stumbling block, even though you think it's a stumbling block, just use it as a stepping stone. Use it to get on as a stepping stone to take it to the next level, rather than thinking that it's a stumbling block and it just is a stumbling block and that's it, because in reality it actually is just whatever you make it. If you're coming at it from this angle and it says on the side of it stumbling block, then it's a stumbling block to you. However, if you're coming at it from this angle and on this side of it says stepping stone, then it's a stepping stone for you. However, it's still the same block. It just depends what angle or what perspective you're looking at it from. So you're able to change anything that you even see as negative, or anything, yeah, so anything that you see as positive you can turn negative, anything that you can see as negative you can turn positive. Obviously you're looking to turn all the things that you see as negative into positive things and into ways to actually move forward and advance. So that's where you want your attention, which goes on to talk about interest, paying special attention, concern, seeing the outer world, what is already on your mind. Again, this is the algorithm talk we were having, me and Kane. And then your interests are what you see, your focus. You pass by the things you desire the most if your focus is on the things you do not desire. So, yeah, if you're, for example, walking around a neighbourhood and all you think about is, oh, there's so many potholes, then all you're going to see is potholes. Whereas if you're going around the neighbourhood and you think, it's so clean, like you're not even thinking about the potholes, you probably wouldn't even realise there's potholes there, even if you were to go through the potholes, if your focus is on how beautiful the scenery is, or how beautiful the trees are, how clean the streets are. The potholes, you probably not even realise are there, whereas the person who's focused on the potholes didn't, like you just both went through the same street in the same car, hit the same potholes, but because he was focused on the potholes or she was focused on the potholes, they realised the potholes and the negative aspect of the neighbourhood, while you were just so focused on the beauty of the neighbourhood that you were going through the potholes, probably maybe even thinking they were just speed bumps or whatever, nothing of a negative thought, because you were so in such a positive mindset about the environment you are currently in. So your focus is essentially where, like what you will see, just based even loosely off that example. God feeds the birds and provides an abundance of food. However, God doesn't then put the food in the mouths of the birds. Like God doesn't go about with worms putting it in the mouth of the bird. The bird still needs to go out and get the worms, but the worms are all there for the bird always. An abundance of food constantly. Same way with yourself. If there's something that you're trying to achieve, there's an abundance of being able to achieve that. It's just up to you to go and actually achieve that. The bird must act and find the abundance. And then it goes on to talk about ruts are mental before material. So essentially a rut being like a situation where you're just in such a negative mind state, and maybe even thinking of something negative that's going to happen, and it's always in your mind first before it then actually happens. So just ensuring that you, when you feel yourself maybe getting in a rut, you just sort of let go of that rut, or maybe turn it around into something else that is positive. Because it also goes on to say high interest is not enough. Attention has to be played as part of it. So yep, you have a high interest in something positive happening, but if your attention is on the negative aspects of what happens, if you even get that positive, or if you don't get that positive, if your attention is on the repercussions of not getting that positive, then you will just get the repercussions, whereas you should really have your attention on getting that positive, if that is what you're looking to actually get. And then also, and then talks about setting a standard and stick to it. Focus on the standard, never the opposite of the standard. Don't fight against the opposite. So if people are opposing to the standard you said, don't fight against that. Just focus on what you are and being that standard, and then you'll start realizing that people will sort of fall in line with that standard, because your standard is there. Again, feedback loop of your mind. Just focus on what you are. Your interests, expectations, and action will determine what you receive. If you desire something and fear it, does that make sense? So if you're desiring something and you're scared of it, like, are you really desiring it? Is it something that you really want? Probably not. Like, why would you want something that you fear? It doesn't make sense. So then you wouldn't get that. You would just, like you wouldn't get something that you fear. You wouldn't even want to get something that you fear. So then you wouldn't get it, even if you say that that's what you want. Now, if you desire something, fear it, that doesn't make sense. To desire is to expect, and to expect is to achieve. So if you desire, make sure you expect your desire, and when you're expecting your desire, you will achieve that said desire. So that's where you want to look at it. Yes, desire, expect it, and then achieve it. And obviously within that, you still need to take action. Because if, a bird isn't exactly going to think, I want worms, but you know what, I'm scared that there's no worms, so I'm not going to go and get the worms. It's just going to go up and go out and get them worms, because that's its desire, that's what it expects to be there. So it will go and it will get them. That's, I guess, the summary of sort of what I read and listened to just there. I think this was a bit of a speed run as well, actually. Well, no, actually 18 minutes again. That does not feel like 18 minutes. I'm not even gonna lie. Doesn't even feel close to 18 minutes. And this uploading is saying 1 hour and 28 minutes, and I'm leaving. So that's gonna be a while. But yeah, this was a good chapter. It's a chapter I think a lot of people sort of already know about, within other books, within books themselves, just talking about the law of attraction. So yeah, I guess that's chapter 4, the law of attraction. And the next chapter will be, drum roll please, again, probably won't put another drum roll. Law of receiving, chapter 5, law of receiving. So watch out for that. That's what's next. And yeah, even go through this video again. If my accent is hard to understand, I'm sure there'll be subtitles on it. However, I'm not checking over the subtitles. I can't be bothered. However, yeah, maybe listen to it a few times, see what value you can extract from it. Maybe read the book for yourself too, get your own perspective. And yeah, I hope this was insightful and gave you a perspective to think about, and maybe analyze your own life to see, right, what things am I actually desiring, and are those the same things I'm expecting, and do those align with the actions I'm taking? And actually, a funny, like God's got jokes, a funny quote here, I'm going to pull up real quick. Oh, I found this maybe a little bit too funny, which was, so the Bible verse is Luke 6:42. This is New International Version. I understand that like, they're different in things. But it says, how can you say to your brother, brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when you yourself fail to see the plank in your own eye? You hypocrite. First take the plank out of your eye, and then you'll see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. And it's funny because even with that, if you have a plank in your eye and you think there's a speck in someone else's, it's like there might not even be a speck in their eye. The plank in yours is probably just that big that you think there's a speck there and there's not. So just get rid of that. Get rid of that plank is the motif of this video, I guess. So law of attraction. Don't think and be negative and expect some sort of positive from it, unless you take the negative, make it positive, and focus on the positive aspects of things, I guess. So again, have your desires, expect your desires, and act on your desires, and you will achieve. Guess that's the lesson today, or the perspective today, or the understanding today that I got. And I hope you got something from this. And see you later.